Hey there! If you're looking for a fun and easy way to earn rewards, including cash and prizes, check out the link in the video description.
Tea is week. Citizens of all 27 EU member states will begin to vote in the European Parliament elections. One outcome seems inevitable: the far right will make significant gains. Polls suggest that the two groups in the European Parliament that harbor far-right parties could secure about 20% of the seats, a fourfold increase since the early 1990s. In 4 of the 6 founding EU states, these parties lead in the polls. Where does this far-right success come from? One explanation is that far-right parties have become more moderate over the years, while voters have become more radicalized. Yet research indicates that this explanation does not make sense. On their core issues, such as immigration and anti-establishment politics, far-right parties are as radical as ever, and according to research, voters are no less trusting of their politicians and parliaments than they were 3 decades ago, no less satisfied with the workings of democracy, and their attitudes to immigration have remained relatively unchanged. What has changed is not their ideologies, but that parties and voters have been driven into each other's arms. Imagine a small snowball being pushed down a snow-covered hillside. As it rolls, the ball picks up more snow and becomes bigger and faster. No push in isolation creates this giant, fast-moving ball of snow. It is the combined effort that does the trick. Once the snowball gains momentum, it is difficult to stop. The snowball effect is a useful metaphor for understanding the far right's increasing success. It is the result of a multitude of political, social, economic, and cultural developments that together have created its momentum. The first push came from the weakening of social ties. Take the Netherlands as an example. In the 1950s, a typical person raised in a Catholic family attended Catholic schools, consumed Catholic media and, eventually, voted for a Catholic party. Today, such predictable voting patterns are rare. Higher levels of education have empowered individuals to make independent political choices, breaking free from traditional party loyalties. Starting in the 1960s and gathering steam since the turn of the millennium, electoral volatility has enabled far-right parties to attract voters who are no longer bound by old allegiances. Where individualization led to de-alignment, voters breaking free of existing political alignments, globalization contributed to realignment, new alignments between voters and parties. Those who benefited from Europe's open borders, the highly educated winners of globalization, contrasted sharply with those who felt threatened economically and culturally by these changes. Immigration became a key topic in election campaigns and public debates, drawing more attention to far-right parties. But to get a better understanding of how the snowball really gained momentum, we need to examine the strategic behavior of far-right parties themselves. In the decades after the Second World War, far-right parties were still heavily associated with fascism and Nazism. To become acceptable, these parties had to gain democratic legitimacy. They did so by embracing populism as a key part of their discourse. Populism claims that the will of the people should guide democratic decisions and that elites corrupt this process. Focusing on populism rather than fascism provided far-right parties with a democratic reputation and helped them gain legitimacy. Far-right parties also tried to modernize their image by breaking ties with more extreme elements. For instance, in 2011, Marine Le Pen embarked on a strategy of de-demonization, de-diabolization, to detoxify her party's extremist reputation. She expelled extremist politicians, denounced fascism and anti-Semitism, and even ousted her more extreme father from the party. In 2018, the Front National Party was renamed Rassemblement National, National Rally. The goal was to appeal to more voters by emphasizing that the party had become a more moderate version of itself. Did these far-right parties really become more moderate? No. When it comes to their core policy positions, almost all of them are as radical and far-right as ever. Only their image has changed. For example, the rising star of the far right in France, Jordan Bardella, is the son of Italian and Algerian immigrants, and grew up poor on a housing estate in the suburbs of Paris. He hasn't diluted Le Pen's anti-immigration message, he is just suff.